Okay, so I am making this video because I've had a few people from the clan try to ask me like how can I be a better sniper, what can I do to improve my sniping, etc. So I'm just gonna try to go over things that I do, things that I keep in mind, some basics, some not so basics, blah blah blah. To be honest, there's probably a million search results on YouTube that have everything I'm about to say, all in better edited videos with good mic quality, blah blah blah. But whatever. This is my video, so get fucked, YouTubers. All right. So I just went and joined a random Iron Banner game and played it out, and I played like dog shit. But I didn't want to have a black screen going while I just rambled on. So whatever, it's there. Laugh at me being terrible at the game. Anyway, I just jotted down a few points that I think are pretty important to successfully sniping. So I just wanted to go over some things like aim, lanes, peeking, and some general game knowledge and mind games you might try to consider once you get pretty comfortable with it. So let's get started. Aim. Just you know, newsflash: if you want to be good at sniping, you need to have good aim. Just in case anybody was wondering. So, the biggest like immediate difference you can make in your aim if you don't think you have very good aim is to download an aim trainer and just open it up every day, once or twice. Run some drills, some training for anywhere from 10 minutes to an hour. And if you do that every day, like right before you hop on video games, I mean, you're just immediately gonna see results, and it'll only get better over time. Um, I personally use aim labs, and with aim labs, I can basically set the sensitivity to whatever game I'm playing. So like Destiny 2, I set it to my sens, and I just run grid shot for 10 to 20 minutes, and it helps you get in the groove, it helps you warm up, and in general, it just helps you build muscle memory for the game that you're playing, and it'll make you have to think a lot less about aiming over time. So I can't really recommend it enough. And following that, I would highly recommend that if you are trying to really improve your aim, don't start at some super high sensitivity where if you slightly touch your mouse, your character does a 360 in game. Like, it's just going to make you more inconsistent. Generally speaking, a higher sensitivity, the less trained you are, the more inconsistent you'll be with your shots, and that's not really the goal. Because especially in sniping, because if you're like in trials, for example, one of your biggest duties is going to be getting an initial pick off of a lane. And if you're going for one single shot, you want that shot to be as consistent as possible. So I don't want to sit too long on aim simply because I can already tell that this video is going to be like 10 times longer than I thought it would be. And because there's also probably a bajillion tutorials that you can find anywhere on the internet on aim and how to improve it. But one thing that I want to touch on real quick is an aspect of sniping that I think is pretty crucial to being successful. And this also applies to just the game in general with your primary and any FPS you might pick up in the future. But that is crosshair placement. And what I mean by crosshair placement is holding your crosshair in a position on the screen when moving around and peeking lanes and angles that will ensure that you have to do the least amount of work required to successfully aim and hit a target when they do show up on your screen. I'll try to put a video example up, but realistically what it boils down to is peeking lanes and angles with your crosshair somewhere at head level, or peeking so that your crosshair ends up in a place that is commonly played or a place that you expect the enemy to be in. Alright, so moving on from just general aim and how to improve that. Another really big aspect of sniping is going to be laning. And when I say lane, if you play League of Legends or Dota, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. But if I could describe it quickly, a lane in Destiny 2 would probably be anywhere on the map that has a decent amount of distance that is commonly traversed. That's a pretty simple way of explaining what a lane is. So as a sniper, when I say you're laning, you're going to be peeking down a long section of the map to try and get a pick. So a good example, as terrible of a map as it is, in my opinion, would be Convergence, which is actually the Trials map this week. Convergence has two very, very, very defined and popular lanes, and that would be mid lane and waterfall lane. And I'll try to throw them up on screen. But basically, the the flow of a trials match, if there's two snipers on one on each team, would be the snipers peeking each other either mid lane or waterfall lane. And the reason for that is because mid control on that map is super crucial. And to peak mid lane and win your sniper duel means that your team has an extreme advantage in then moving up and taking mid control. And this brings me to my next point, which is why laning is so valuable um, in the context of trials or comp. If you successfully lane for your team, you're gonna give them an extreme advantage in pushing forward, putting pressure on the enemy, disrupting spawns. You can have a huge impact by simply successfully peeking your lane and winning your duel. So naturally, your next question will be, how do I lane? How do I not int like Goldilocks would if he was laning? Well, it's honestly not like a super straight cut answer, but if I had to just tell you, hey, win by doing this, the most crucial thing would be to get there first. If you get there first, you have an extreme advantage because you can pick your position in where you want to play the lane, where you want to pre-aim, how you want to react to the opponent. If you're getting there second, you're at a slight disadvantage because the enemy has time to try and pick out your position. But successfully laning could also mean straight up just not dying. You could peek the lane, body shot the enemy, and then just bail and help your team. By body shotting someone, you've already reduced their health pool to the point where they don't want to peek, especially in a 120 meta, which it currently is. And now you can push on the 3v2 that you have if the other two have pushed up into mid, and they do no longer have their third as backup until he regens his health. As a side note, this is pretty much why Dawnblade is the meta if you're a sniper, because Icarus Dash pretty much guarantees that you're going to beat slash tie anyone to a sniper lane. Okay, so you've mentioned that you probably want to get there first, and you probably want to not die. How do I do that? So, for starters, try to avoid peeking a lane in the same exact spot every single time. Because if you continue to use the same old pattern, a decent team is going to pick up on that, and eventually they'll just end up destroying you. You won't stand a chance because you'll basically just get pre-aimed before you can even react. When I lane in trials, I always try to pick a new spot every single round. Peek from the left, peek from the right. Don't even peek at all one round. Change it up. Be unpredictable. That's the biggest way you can win a lane battle. Another way to win, which brings me to one of my minor subjects that I want to talk about, is jiggle peeking. Jiggle peeking is a fantastic tool if you're a sniper. So what is a jiggle peek? Basically, if you want to peek a lane and you don't necessarily want to fight it full on, you just want to try to gather some info, maybe take a really super fast shot, you quickly strafe in and out of visibility of that lane. This allows you to easily get information. It makes you a pretty hard target, and the enemy would have to hit a really nice shot to stop it. And sometimes it's straight up uncounterable. And remember how I said that if you start to play in a pattern and peek the same spots, an enemy can counter that? Yeah, you can do the exact same thing. If you notice that someone is playing the exact same sniper lane, jiggle peek it. Take a shot. If they're not there, okay, you wasted one shot, you can go support your team with primary. If they are there, you just got an easy kill and you look like a cheater. It's a win-win scenario. And as a side note, you don't just have to jiggle peek and take a shot with sniper. Something that a lot of people call me a cheater for, because it does kind of look sus, is just peeking a lane where I think someone could be and taking a primary shot. You have so much primary ammo, it literally doesn't matter. You could drop 3 mags on a random place that no one's standing in, and you'd be completely fine. The round would be unchanged. But sometimes, someone is there, and you hit a headshot, and you're instantly in a winnable position. In a game like Destiny 2, where map control is a really big aspect, especially in a game mode like Trials, Jiggle peeking for information and sometimes extra damage that you otherwise wouldn't have warranted without taking damage yourself is a really strong method of getting a 1-up on your opponent. Following jiggle peeking and how you can use that to your advantage, one thing that you need to be aware of, which is pretty much present in every online FPS, is Peeker's Advantage. In a nutshell, Peeker's Advantage is an artifact of just simply playing on a game's network where everything that you do on your end has to be sent to the game servers and then has to be sent back out to everyone else. And because of that, there's always going to be a slight delay no matter how crazy good your connection is and the enemy's connection is. There's always going to be a slight delay unless you're playing LAN. Because of this, you have to be aware of the fact, especially because Destiny has low tick rate servers, you have to be aware that this is a potential thing where if someone decides to engage you in a sniper lane and they peek out and take a really fast shot, you might have a lot less time to react than you think, simply due to the fact that they have what is called Peeker's Advantage. So just thought I'd put that in there in case anyone wasn't aware of what it was. It's just something you need to be aware of and look out for. So following the same sort of topic of using different types of peeking to your advantage in this game, I want to talk about jump shotting. Because I think that jump shotting with Icarus Grip is a super viable way of getting some really nice looking picks while also being an extremely effective sniper. Now, to preface this, I would highly recommend just sticking to your boots on the ground 90% of the time, simply due to the fact that that's always going to be 100% consistent. But thanks to the Icarus Grip mod, you do have a high chance of hitting your in-air shots if you play them correctly. And I'm not really sure of the exact penalties that are given and removed with accuracy when in the air, using Icarus Grip but not using Icarus Grip, etc. But it is very obvious when taking these shots in game that manipulating your character a certain way while in the air, while also using Icarus Grip, has a very strong effect. So, how do you jump shot? In general, when you're trying to hit a jump shot, you want to start the jump and then take the shot right around the peak of your jump, meaning the highest point that you will reach when in the air before hitting the ground again. This method can vary if you're using your class's double jump. So for Warlocks and Titans, I would recommend trying to take a jump shot while you have upwards or horizontal movement. I would recommend staying away from trying to take a jump shot if your character is in the process of going down. For Hunters, this is different, simply due to how their double jump works. So if you're using strafe jump, which you should be in PvP, hold your primary out right up until the second before you hit the peak of the double jump, and then take your sniper out for the shot. What I found that this is pretty much 100% accurate if you do it correctly. It's just slightly more difficult simply due to the fact that you have to time and position yourself correctly for you to be in the exact position you want to be at the height of your double jump. Overall, if you practice this and use it over time, you'll kind of get the feel for when you do and don't want to shoot. And I think that it's a pretty viable way of easily gathering information and potentially hitting a shot. So the last sort of engagement style that I want to touch on that goes in line with successfully peeking a lane and winning your lane is going to be slide peeking. And yeah, it's exactly what it sounds like. You're going to slide into a lane and peek it while your character is still in the slide animation. This makes it so that it's a lot harder for your opponent to judge where your head is going to be, and it makes it a lot easier for you because you're creating a much harder target to hit while doing a lot less than actually pressing any movement keys. The problem is this is also harder on you because you're making a moving shot. Your reticle is going to be constantly moving left or right depending on which way you slid, and that's going to make the shot that you're aiming for harder. So one trick you can use is to try and time your slide so that it ends just a fraction of a second after you become visible within the lane. That way your target is thrown off, but you come up ready to take a shot within the lane. I would absolutely get into the motion of just always slide peeking any angle that you can, simply because it's just a much more effective way than just AD strafing into the lane and becoming visible. Because again, if someone is doing something that I mentioned earlier, which is pre-aiming you, and you walk into the lane with your head already at their crosshair level, it's going to be a lot easier shot for them. Alright, finally moving away from different styles of engagement and things of that nature, I just wanted to touch really quickly on the fact that if you do want to become a very good sniper, one of the things that you're going to have to know just by memory is pretty much every common snipe spot and every common lane within every map in Destiny 2. If you're able to take everything that I've talked to up to this point, such as crosshair placement and good aim and good engages, and you throw that in with good map knowledge, you're already going to be a very successful sniper. And unfortunately, there is no secret to gaining map knowledge. You pretty much just have to play the game and slowly develop a library of places in your head where people like to go and people like to snipe. One of the things that will help you improve in this game and in any game that you want to improve on is thinking less. The more time you devote to making decisions, the less time you have to actually play and execute those decisions. Because in an FPS like Destiny, aiming is only half the battle. Knowledge and game sense is going to win you the other half. And this leads me into my next and probably final major subject, which is just going to be how to play the role of a sniper. And moving forward, I kind of want to just assume that we're within the context of a trials match here, since I feel like not only is that the most competitive aspect of Destiny PvP, but it's also where this information is going to be the most relevant. So you have to realize that by simply taking a shotgun off and putting a sniper on, you've instantly lost a lot of aggressive potential that you would have otherwise had. And because of this, you're going to be playing in a different playstyle than your teammates with different loadouts will. So I like to think of my shotgunning teammates as the front line of defense, right? If someone is pushing to my end of the map, they're going to have to go through those teammates first. This means that I need to react to the gameplay as my teammates do. If they move up, I should move up a little bit. If they retreat, I should retreat a little bit. I play off of them, and this is what creates synergy. The problem with this synergy is that if for some reason, whatever that reason may be, I don't fulfill my role, then now it is my fault if we end up losing the round. Basically what I'm getting at here is in the long run, it's probably best to try and be a team player as a sniper as opposed to making the flashy 1v3 plays. Keep it safe, keep it simple, try to open up the round with a pick, and if that doesn't work, just try to help your teammates as they enter and retreat from gunfights. Another big thing that you're going to have to keep in mind while sniping is your positioning. Your positioning can literally mean the difference between life and death. In this game, there is a ton of movement potential, especially with the introduction of stasis. Characters can get up on other characters in seconds flat. It's a super fast-paced environment when everything is in close range. And as a sniper, that's exactly what you do not want. You've probably heard of the term being stuck in your scope. And what that means is ADSing with the sniper and simply not paying attention to anything else that goes on outside of that scope. I mentioned before that you have a front line of defense usually when you're playing with shotgunning teammates. If you are in a sniper battle with a fellow sniper who has shotgunning teammates and you're trying to win your duel and you sit in your scope too long, his shotgunning teammates could create a hole in your defense and move right in and punch you in the face. As just a general baseline, if I'm in my scope for more than 2 seconds, I back out and regain my bearings and then rescope. Unfortunately, there is no clear-cut answer as to where you should be because every single round and every single game is going to be different. Something that I found extremely helpful for improving this aspect of my gameplay was recording my games and then going back and watching them. I can pretty much guarantee that when you play a game, you're not just going to replay the entire game in your head. You're going to replay the highlights. Going back and watching the entirety of a game, you might be able to see, oh, hey, I stepped out of position here and that's what got me sniped. It wasn't the fact that I was distracted by this guy, I simply moved too far into the lane. Things like that can be really helpful in evolving as a player and getting better positioning over time. And just like map knowledge is kind of gained over time, I would say that positioning knowledge is also gained over time. As you play more and more and you rack up more and more experiences as a sniper, you can refer to those experiences later on down the line and maybe reconsider where you're standing or where you should be in the present moment. And building off of that, another way to just in general be a better position player is by taking a step back from the game while you're in it and looking at and observing whether or not you should be where you currently are. In short, just be aware of what's happening around you. Don't be so entirely focused on hitting your next shot that you just sacrifice every other aspect of your gameplay. So, yeah, I think that covers most of the major pain points I think that newer snipers kind of struggle with. So to recap, you want to focus on your aim, obviously. There's a lot of different things you can do, a lot of great resources out there. I learned a lot of aim tricks and just general theory about aiming from an Overwatch pro named Sure4. He has a lot of great videos and insights into aiming. Highly suggest checking him out. Prioritize practicing all of your different engagements. You have jiggle peaks, you have slide peaks, you have jump shots, you have all these different methods of putting yourself into a position where you can shoot someone and they'll have a harder time of shooting you. That's the main goal of being a sniper, is making your target easier to hit than you are for your target. You want to focus on learning maps, learning the lanes within those maps, the common places that people can peek within those maps, some obsolete one-off angles that you may use in a match that can net you a clutch, things of that nature. Another thing besides playtime that can really help you learn and progress in positioning and map knowledge is watching very high level streamers. People like Panda, JP Blink, Walla, those guys constantly three stack on the weekends for recovs and they are insane at the game. They are seriously incredible. I am a Warlock main usually, and I have learned so much about playing Hunter and Hunter movement from simply watching Walla 1v3 teams. It's incredible. You can learn so much from the high level players, and I wouldn't discount them as a great resource for improving your own gameplay. And yeah, I think that's it. Um, in short, you have aim, you have engagements, and you have positioning. Putting all those three together and then adding your own personalized playstyle to the game is how you're going to become a better sniper. And really, I hate to say it, there's no other way to get better than to just play. So just launch quick play, launch Iron Banner, play like shit. It doesn't matter. As long as you're having fun, as long as you hit a snipe here and there, you're going to be improving over time. And I think that pretty much wraps this up. I didn't really plan on this video being like this long, so I'm sorry about that. I'll try to make sure I include like timestamps and skips so that if you do want to come back and watch the video, or if you're just trying to watch a certain part of the video, that it's a lot easier and accessible. But I hope that this helped you in some way. I had a lot of fun just learning how to edit videos, just making this video, and yeah, it was fun. So if you have any more questions, obviously you can always just DM me on Discord. That's the best way to reach me. And hope to see you guys out there.